the first move that was made in the morning, and that was the Vikings trading for TJ Hockenson. They acquired Hockenson plus a 2023 fourth rounder and a conditional 2024 fourth round pick. And the Lions acquired a 2023 second round pick and a 2024 fourth round pick. Which one of these teams do you think won the trade?
I don't know if there's a clear winner here. If I had to decide, it would probably be Minnesota, just because if you want to take Minnesota's point of view, they just basically trade down from from the fourth round, right? Or they give up second and thirds, they get fourth round back is what I should say. So that makes sense that you still recoup some draft capital. Plus you get a tight end who TJ Hockenson isn't elite, right? But he is one of the better tight ends in the NFL. I don't think you're putting him in that group with Kelsey or Andrews, definitely not even with Kittle. But really probably that third tier of guys. He's probably in that mix. He has had some blow-up games even this year. He set the record for Lions like receiving yards as a tight end. He went crazy, of course. Played him in fantasy that week and got smoked. But TJ Hockenson, he's going to be a solid player for them. You know, they needed a consistent third option outside of Thielen and Justin Jefferson. KJ Osborne had some moments, especially last year, not so much this year. And, of course, Dalvin Cook's there in the running game. So I think bringing in Hockenson, another guy for Kirk Cousins. Plus, I believe he's on the final year of his rookie contract. I don't know if Detroit, in their current position, they only have one win. They're still rebuilding. It makes a bunch of sense to re-sign him when you already have Amon-Ra. You have Jameson Williams, and you have two running backs who they're really high on as well. So getting a second-round pick, you could use that really good draft capital. Going from the fourth to a second is a big jump up. That goes from a fourth round pick who's you're hoping he could be a starter one day to a second round pick. You're hoping he could come in day one and really contribute to that team. So I understand it from Detroit's point of view, especially rebuilding, still having a bunch of holes on this team. We thought they were probably a bit closer than they actually are. But trading TJ Hockenson, it makes some sense.
He's signed through next year as well.
Okay, so 2 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
I think both teams won in the sense of, you look at it from the Vikings' point of view, they didn't really have a tight end. They needed a third option. TJ Hawkinson's the guy, right? But you mentioned it. Outside of Andrews, Kelsey, Waller, Kittle, right, there aren't many elite tight ends that's really going to change a game, right? So you look at the Lions, they're in a rebuilding stage. They already have a high-powered offense. Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, Jesus Christ, DeAndre Swift and them boys, those are their guys. TJ Hockenson was like, all right, final year's contract. Losing him isn't going to make our offense less dynamic. We still have the guys, and we're going to get more draft capital. So I think both teams win in this department. Detroit gets some draft capital, and the Vikings beef up that offense heading into the playoffs, which this is a team that a lot of people sleep on, even though they have a lot of wins. I think they're 6-1, I believe.
Second in the NFC.
So they're winning their division pretty much. I think they'll win their division by the end of the year. So this is a team walking into the playoffs. You need somebody else outside of Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, and TJ can be that guy.
When this trade was first made, everybody was kind of alarmed and had their antennas up because it's an in-division trade. But quite frankly, I think this says where both teams are at. It tells us a lot about where both teams are at. The Vikings want to contend, and the Lions are in a place where they're comfortable enough trading a really good player to their in-division rival because they know they're not close to competing, quite frankly. And when the Lions finally build up their roster, either Hawkinson's going to be out of the Vikings, he's going to leave, or the Vikings are going to kind of be on this decline. There's a brand new fantasy app. It's called Boom Fantasy. You got over-unders, player props. You got matchups. This player versus that player. That's personally my favorite. And long shots. You can win 40 times your money. And if I'm not mistaken, Joel, NBA is coming soon.
Yes, sir. NBA will be in the app in the next 10 days or so. Wow. I believe opening night is October 19th, so we'll have stuff up a few days beforehand. That's going to be fun because we have it every night. You don't have to wait till Monday, Thursday.
Did you get your code for the league pass?
I did get my code for the league pass.
I got my code too.
Yep, that's amazing.
That's from 2K, right?
Yes.
That's tough.
Amazing.
That's fire.
So if you guys haven't already, download the Boom Fantasy app right now. Link is in our description or in the caption wherever you're watching. I think this was really good for the Lions. Removing TJ Hockenson from an offense of Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, and DeAndre Swift isn't this huge gaping hole people think it is. I do think if they sign a tight end like a Tyler Conklin, it kind of fills the void of what Hockenson left, although he's a more dynamic player, no doubt. Yeah. But it's not this huge loss, and I think having now 5 picks within the first 65 picks of the draft and the ability to have a lot of cap flexibility, the Lions can rebuild their defense. Their offensive line's elite. They can have one of the best rushing attacks. They have good receivers. If the Lions land the first overall pick, draft a Bryce Young, and allocate all their resources into defense after that pick, the Lions can be a very good team. Right now, defense is their major hole. They have holes across the secondary, the defensive line, a linebacker outside of Malcolm Rodriguez. They need to overhaul that entire unit. For the Vikings, Irv Smith Jr. is out 8 to 10 weeks with a high ankle sprain. So there was a clear need at tight end because he filled a huge void. And Hockenson right now is fifth amongst all tight ends in yards. And Kirk Cousins this season is 30th in QBR and 33rd in yards per attempts when targeting a tight end. TJ Hockenson is first in yards per attempt amongst all tight ends. I do disagree with Adam Thielen being a second option. I think TJ becomes a second option in this offense.
You think so?
I think when you look at just week to week, TJ, his matchups versus what Thielen would be matched up with, I trust TJ to create more mismatches week to week than Thielen.
That makes sense. But Kirk they have that connection for so many years that their chemistry is just so elite.
Yeah, Thielen to me just feels like he's a step slow now. He's not as good as he once was.
He's great in the red zone still. Him and Kirk, he always
there's no doubt. But it takes a lot of pressure off of Justin Jefferson now as well because he might not be seeing as much cloud coverage and doubles. And even if he does, now you have Thielen and Hockenson. I like Osborne, but he's not somebody that's threatening a defense. TJ, Thielen, they do that, and now they can get the play-action game going. And this can be a move that takes the Vikings from a inconsistent offense to a consistent offense. I don't know if they're going to be elite, great just yet. I just want them to be consistent. Right now, across the board, defensively and offensively, they're still inconsistent, but they're 6-1, which is good because they're still figuring things out, but they're winning.